All right, so welcome to another episode here on the Pillowcaast.
You're
Today, we're going to be talking about all things culture, relevancy, personal things, trauma, all that. It's going to be a good one. So stay tuned. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want to do, wherever you follow us on, just go ahead and hit that follow button
and or like it
and or like it
and share it.
and share it. I'm here with my wife, my beautiful wife, and man, how's your week?
This was a good week. I had a good week actually. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even like fluffing. Um and I think it's good because
Is fluffing like a new term?
no,
Oh,
I don't know.
okay. No, I've never heard it before, so
Oh
I didn't know what it meant.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm assuming you mean cap or something like that.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, because I would not say
that's the
cap
new
because it
term.
sounds
That's the
weird. Yeah, I don't like saying it.
cap.
My accent doesn't make everything sound so like cool, I
Got it.
guess, in my head. So
Got it.
yeah, I had a good week, and I think it's more or less because my mindset, like I've really been shifting my mindset. So we'll get into that, but for sure, like spiritually, I'm feeling better. I mean, aside from the fact that I got my fourth cold and or flu for the season,
That seems like it's a thing going around this week.
but
I
why
have
every
a few
time?
friends of mine who are sick.
Yeah, but why every time I gotta catch me?
As
I'm tired. I barely have a voice today. But anyway, yeah. What about you? How was your week?
I had a good week. It was a busy week, but very productive nonetheless. A lot of things, a lot of different areas pulling me on different sides. But aside from that, I mean, I can't complain. I thought it was a good week overall. Had
Oh
a
my.
busy weekend.
Oh yeah, I forgot to even. Probably that's why
Yeah.
I didn't get my voice back. I did well though. I probably yelled once this weekend, and I think I don't even remember when. It might have been last night
Yeah.
when it was just a little too noisy, and I didn't want to do that thing. If you could hear me clap once,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
hear me clap twice, and I just needed it to just stop. We gotta go to sleep. But other than that, yeah. So to
By the way,
elaborate,
she's referring
yes,
to.
I was just about to jump into it. I had my nieces and my one nephew over here this weekend. Shout out to Malin and Juju. Happy birthday, Juju, for inviting us to your birthday party. And apparently, the way they grew up, they come in like pair. Well, the two girls come in a pair in essence. I didn't realize that Max came with Addie as well, but we managed and we pushed through. We got a little crash course in. I mean, this is not the first weekend we've had them,
Yeah.
but this is the first weekend we had them and we had so much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally we take them the Friday night and just chill, but Friday night we did worship night.
Yeah.
I can't believe I was that. Yeah, I got to use that I from the stage when I'm just like sit down, like without like
Yeah.
trying to be be in the moment, be in the worship session, but also remembering that I got these kids out there that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool and challenging. How you felt with
Shout
that?
out to all the parents who have more than one child.
Yeah. Whew.
My Lanta. Like that is wild. And it's not to say that they're bad children. They're
Oh
angels.
no, there.
And they're beautiful children. But it's just amazing to me to witness the amount of energy children have. So yesterday, in context, we decided to have our normal Saturday cheat meal, is what I call it, because it's my one day that I cheat on my diet. So we go get some pancakes, good old time. And the intent was to go there and then head to run some errands and then head to the birthday party that we had to go to. So from the place that we went to run our errands to the birthday party, it was probably a 45-minute travel.
Yeah.
Those kids fell asleep.
They
Fell
yeah.
asleep.
They got their
So I
energy
was
up.
like, oh, wow, that's crazy. They fell
Oh,
asleep. It's
oh.
funny because they just woke up literally, you know? So I'm like, all right, cool. So we get to the birthday party and these kids woke up and
Did not
they
go
were
back to
everywhere.
sleep
They didn't go back to sleep for
until
the rest of the day.
bedtime, which was after 10.
Yes. We thought after the birthday party they'd
They
have
would
their little nap. Nope.
know.
Not a thing. Wide awake. Wide
And
awake and full of
begging
energy.
for food
Yeah, it was
after they
wild.
came from a party.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. So,
Yo.
shout out to all the parents who have more than one child. I can't I can't say
Mm-mm.
I can't say that I respect you. Like I the amount of respect that I have for y'all is just ridiculous now. Like seeing that. I mean, I have one son, and I remember raising him and everything like that. And when he was younger, he
He
was
was a handful.
he was a handful. It was
Him by
almost
himself.
it was almost like he was
He
like
had
raising
siblings.
two children because he was a handful. But man, three is whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, it was scary. But anyway, great children, beautiful children. And Niana, if you're watching this, love you. Um,
And
yeah,
and he caught
and
too.
Nikon
No, but Brooke held it
and
together though.
John.
Thank God. Yeah.
No, yeah, they were good. I mean, we're not saying that they got into any mischief. They weren't.
None
They
at
were.
all.
They weren't mischievous. They were just energy, full of
Yeah.
energy, being kids. But being kids is a lot with three children. So
This generation is different too.
yeah. So that was our
That
weekend.
was cute.
That was our weekend. That was our week. That's what it looked like. Um, so this week we had a chance. Well, not this week. I'm sorry.
It was
Last
Good
week.
Friday.
So on Friday, Good Friday,
At that.
nonetheless. We had an opportunity to go see the movie Sinners. Yes,
Yes, we
on Good
did.
Friday. And I'm gonna be honest. I love the movie.
It was great.
I love the movie.
I
What are
had
your
to s-
thoughts?
when we got there, like, granted, I knew it was a movie about, like, it was a horror movie. Did it scare me out my boots? No. Um, we watch a lot of horror movies. I think for me, the cinematography, the writing, just
Mm-hmm.
knowing it was a Coogler film,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got his boy Michael B. Jordan playing two roles. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
babe. That's that's the only chocolate I'll go for, just so you know. All right, if I have to have a crush, it's him and Jonathan Majors. We'll talk about that later. But Sinners was good. I would say this. When it started, I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. If you haven't seen it yet, y'all could skip this part of the cast because we might give a little spoiler, some spoilers, but not too much.
Yeah.
It's definitely a vampire movie. I don't believe in vampires, so I'm just like, okay. There was some like hints of like witchcraft, but when you go into like the history and just even the woman who played the role of Annie, she I want to say just that part of the South she's from, obviously they believed in all of this like voodoo and stuff. So like respectfully, that's things that religious practices that they had. So for me as a Christian going to see it, because I've been seeing so much like reviews about the Christians who went to see it. My take on it is, now if you are such a strong believer and if you have issues with these things, then use your discernment. The movie is called Sinners, so it's that's your choice. But like that's a choice you're making. And if it's sinners and you feel so highly and heavily about the spiritual realm and things like that, I hope I'm not like saying something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Am I?
No.
Just don't go see it. I saw some girl put up a post, like a whole video about how she couldn't sit, she had to get up and leave, and had the audacity to say, "I think I'm gonna still go back to watch the end." So then shut up. Like what? It's either you're doing it or you ain't doing it. Like don't backtrack. Like, but anyway, the movie was great. It was great. Great acting. For me, I love a nostalgic feel with things. Like, so there's actors that we watched growing up, like he brought on screen. Even that new kid that he brought, I'm just like, it was, yeah, it was good. And then us growing up in church, it's like you could pick and you can, for me,
Yeah.
I would pick and say, okay, I can see certain things and I can apply it to my life.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I think too, I don't let things like that bother. We're in a great church that teaches, how to guard ourselves. So I guess we got to stay guarded. That's it.
Yeah.
Because we could walk down the street and we don't know what's going on. So the point is, are we guarded?
Yeah.
Yeah. So great movie. I would go. Well, I won't go see it again in theaters, but I will definitely watch it again
Yeah.
because we do that. Mhm.
I thought the movie was great.
Mhm.
Honestly, I felt like the acting was incredible. Michael B. Jordan, man, hats off. To be able to play two different people. Yes, they were twins,
Identical.
but they were two different personalities.
Yeah.
It was like literally two separate people to play them, and then to play them on in the same scene is wild to me.
Mhm.
The acting was incredible. Listen, I do understand the sentiment when
Mhm.
people are like a little bit sensitive when it comes to watching horror flicks and stuff that deal with that type of thing. And I understand it. My, I guess, recommendation would be if it affects your spirit, if it messes with your mind, if it leads you to be fearful,
Go read a book.
don't watch it. Don't you shouldn't be watching horror flicks at all. If that stuff is if that stuff brings you out of peace and brings you into a state of whatever it is, it could be a state of fear, it can bring you into a state of worry, whatever it is. If it brings you there, don't watch it.
That's
That's
it.
that. I think this is subjective. For me personally, that stuff doesn't affect me. I don't leave feeling scared. I don't leave second guessing my faith. I don't leave none of that. I understand who I am. I understand my identity in Christ. And as a matter of fact, watching the movie, I ended up getting, I guess, I don't know if you would call it a revelation, but I was finding correlation between scripture and a specific parts in the movie.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the parts, well, let's backtrack a little bit. For those who have never seen the movie, I would suggest we have a whole party going on outside right now.
Yeah. I thought it was
That's
in
wild.
here. That scared me.
Sorry. So, for those who have not seen the movie, I would suggest you cover your ears because I have to hit on key parts of the movie so that way you can understand where I'm going.
Mhm.
In totality, the movie is about two brothers who left the town in which they grew up in because of mischief and all this stuff. Ended up coming back, ideally to try to make quick money. So they decided to open up a club and make money that way. They said, hey, we can make a quick buck. We open up this club. and we charge at the door,
For
all this, it'll be money coming in really quick. So again, this movie is a vampire flick. So vampires, long story short, vampires find out that this club is open, so they tried to go into this club. Here's where I started thinking, well, this is the part where it got my wheel spinning. The vampires approached the club and they were very adamant at trying to get permission to come in because the vampires could not come into the club unless they were given permission or unless they were given access, which brought to mind the portion of scripture that says, do not give the enemy a foothold,
mm,
because the enemy can't take foothold.
mm,
We give it.
yeah.
So he can't take it without our permission. And I just started thinking about my personal life, or I start thinking of either whether maybe negative thoughts or things that I shouldn't be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get into a stressful state, or now I get into uh, a moment of where I'm worrying and everything like that because I'm deciding to focus in on these specific situations, and instead of looking at them from a different perspective and reframing it, I I tend to I tend to give this thing energy, per se, lack of a better term, and now this thing has consumed my mindset in a negative way. So, long story short, that was what I got out of the movie. Well, I'm sitting there literally watching this movie, and I'm like, there's no way that I'm getting like a whole, I guess, God moment out of this movie. And
Yeah.
yes, I mean, some of you might think that's
Oh,
her-
please.
heresy or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's true. I mean, I think you can literally watch almost any movie with some sort of, I guess, legit meaning to it and pull something out of it if you're really looking for it,
Yeah.
right? So in that, I mean, I didn't go there with the intent to say I'm gonna find God in this movie,
No.
but it definitely came to mind, and it was definitely something that was like, oh wow, I left with that,
And
you
then
know?
even the movie itself too, like it's based on how it started. Again, spoiler alert. Sammy is a pastor's kid. Like
Yeah,
it just shows that tug that most of us grown up in church have
yeah,
on our lives, like the pressure to be the next because daddy's a pastor. I got to do it too.
yeah,
We saw in that movie he made his choice,
yeah,
you know, despite just wild. Like, you expected like a prodigal son moment, and that plot twist to me in my head, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
why he even came back then? Why he just didn't? Why did he even have to show face?
yeah,
Could have just dipped, if he knew he'd made his decision.
yeah.
But at the same time, it just goes to show, like, yeah, like that for me, I looked at it like that, like, dang, that pressure. Some people they fold and they go the opposite
Mhm,
way.
mhm.
Some people stay and they push through. Um, yeah, so it's just that was just something I got to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we could say that, hey, if you
Mm.
can tolerate watching movies like this, and if these type of movies don't affect you, then Sinners is a must see.
Yeah, seriously.
But
They're not paying us to say this either.
yeah, but if it's just not something that you can watch and it's something that brings you out of peace, by all means, please do not watch it.
Yeah.
I think it if we live our lives based on practices like that, I think
Yeah.
we'd be better off, right? Is this beneficial to me? There's a scripture that says, I think Paul writes it, that he says, not, what is it?
I
Uh,
don't know. Sorry, you're the
man,
scripture
not,
guy.
in long story short, he says, not all things are beneficial.
Okay.
but there's a line, and it's just left my brain. But there's a line before that.
Look it up,
Oh,
babe.
sorry.
You got
There it goes. Paul says, "All things are permissible, not all things are beneficial." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And imagine asking yourself that with every situation or every choice you have to make.
This is in Ephesians.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to quote that. I can look it up, but
Okay.
imagine taking that thought, and again, I haven't perfected this. It's just a flowing thought, right?
Yeah.
So imagine taking that thought pattern, or at least that verse, and applying it to every either decision, choice, or just our daily lives. What would that look like, and what would our lives look like? All things are permissible, not everything's beneficial, right?
Yeah.
So the question would be, is this beneficial?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sinners, for example, is watching Sinners beneficial? For me, it was, because look at what I got out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But for you, it may not,
Mm-hmm.
because for you, it might take you out of your peace. So
Not
in that light,
beneficial for you.
it's not beneficial.
So leave it alone.
So leave it alone.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to say about Sinners. That was our review. Y'all can DM us later. Sinners, Michael B.
I know, right?
Shout me out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shannon Sharp. 1, 2, 3, go.
Who?
Shannon Sharp.
That's how I feel about him. It's like, who?
How do you feel about the situation?
Another one? That's how I feel about it.
Another. What do you mean?
Another celebrity in a scandal?
Oh.
Oh my
yes.
gosh. What is it? Oh. Is it a pattern? Another black man of stature using his power to get sex? When will it end?
Yeah, I mean,
That's my take on it.
It's very. I mean, how can I put this? Like, to me, it's like it's very distasteful, right? When you see what's Shannon Sharp? Shannon Sharp has to be like 50 something years old, I think. And
His pants are too tight.
the period in which this whole thing happened, the girl, I believe, I might be wrong, but the girl, I believe, was 19, I think I was reading. 19 years old with a 50.
Babe.
That is disgusting to me.
She had OnlyFans.
I understand. And great. Okay, fine. But I'm not even, this is not even aimed at her. Right?
Now.
This is him. And I get it. You have your urges. You have you have all the money in the world. So then at this point, I guess you think that you could do whatever you want. Right? And that happens with a lot of these celebrities, where, say for Diddy, right? All them years. I mean, again, he hasn't been proven guilty, but there's been a lot of smoke coming out that side of the world, right?
Mm-hmm. So good. You mentioned Diddy. Good. There's that, right? The climate of the world that we live in now, just because of this one man Diddy, right? The whole scandal with him.
Mm-hmm.
And how long ago this happened with this man, Sharp? How long ago?
I don't know when. I don't know how far they're going back with the allegation.
Okay, well, my whole thing with this then is just like, bro, why can't first? You know what's so funny? I thought he was gay. I'm not gonna even lie. I don't.
That was a rumor on.
Oh, I don't know.
Socials.
He just gave it, that vibe to me.
Yeah.
But then my thing is, it's just again, like I was saying, like you get the power, so you assume that you can do anything you want because you got the money. It's it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off with the young ladies that's caught in these scandals is the fact that, like, the way he's saying it is as if it was consensual, right?
He's saying it was role play.
Yeah, he's saying it's that. Who's to say it wasn't?
Yeah, I mean,
But what pisses me off in this day and age is like now it's a money grab
yeah,
too. So it's golly, if you felt like you were violated and you felt like this happened to you, you could bring it up. You could talk to the law.
yeah,
But then when we start talking money across the table, it gets so nasty to me as well.
yeah. I
And
mean,
then on the celebrity side, on the people who the accused side of things, it's like, why put yourself in a position? You never know. Be wise. Why are we so dumb?
mhm.
Why is sex so like? My gosh, why don't you just get a wife? I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I think either he was engaged or he was married at one
Even
point.
worse, don't make me get mad
No, no,
already.
no, not while this happened.
Oh,
No, no, not while this happened.
I'm
No, I'm
about to
saying
get
like
so upset.
at one point in his life.
Okay.
I think he was. I think it ended very on like really bad terms, whatever.
And you
So
will know this because you follow him. He's a
I mean,
sports
I
analyst.
love
Yeah.
him on TV.
Yeah.
He's very entertaining on TV.
Mm.
He's got a lot of little punchlines, and I think he's very knowledgeable. He's obviously an ex
Mm-hmm.
football player who
Yeah.
has been very successful. I think it's either he's in the Hall of Fame or he will be at one point.
Mm.
So no, I mean he will be regardless of
Regardless
what.
of the
Yeah,
scandal? Okay.
regardless of what
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. I think he's already a Hall of Famer,
Because
to
of
be honest.
how well he was in the
He was
game.
really good.
Okay.
He's top. I guess you could say either top 10 or top 20 in his position
Mm.
of all time. I
Yeah.
think maybe. So yeah, he was definitely he's definitely entertaining. He's definitely entertaining. He's definitely someone who I like to listen to. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing is just ridiculous with these celebrities, and it's unfortunate that a lot of these people end up being black because I guess it's hard
So
for
annoying.
black people to be
You're
black
right though.
already.
Yeah.
So when you hear stuff like this,
Another
what
nail
I
in the
hate
scandal.
what I hate is the rhetoric that you start hearing.
Yeah.
The whole, hey, well, you see, I told you it was just a matter of time
Yeah.
till one of them fall. So it's just like,
Because
uh
they're not making wise decisions. Because they know it's harder. They
yeah,
know it's harder. They know to get to the levels that they are in this world, in this industry. Period.
yeah,
They know what it took to get there,
yeah,
and yet they fumble. They fumble their bags all the time.
yeah,
It's so ridiculous.
yeah,
And I think that's why I'm just so fatigued in hearing about these types of in hearing about these scandals.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it's just it's saddening. Like last week we were talking about teach your black sons how to have respect for the
Oh
law.
yeah,
Um, and now this week is like teach your black sons how to respect themselves,
yeah,
so they don't have to end up in stupid scandals like this.
yeah,
Cause now it's like, bro, what's up?
yeah.
It's so ridiculous. I'm mad.
Yeah,
I'm really mad about it.
it just reeks of a lack of
Wisdom.
I guess, of self control. That's what it lacks. It's just there's no self control there.
And you
And
know,
again, it's not to say that because I don't want this to be where it's just like I'm talking and it seems like I'm either
you
condescending or I've arrived somewhere because
you know.
hey, we're all on a journey, right? Some people are at different parts, different areas of the journey. Some people are further along in the journey rather. Uh, so I don't want to make it seem like, hey, I've arrived. I'm holier than thou. I am not. The thing is that there's effort there, though. One thing I can say about myself is that I strive to keep myself away from stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We should all be striving to
Especially when
keep
you're
ourselves away from mess.
on a platform as
Exactly.
big as theirs.
Exactly.
So I'm just disappointed. I hope that, for me, I hope I could bite my tongue in the end and say, oh, but at the same time, you guys, there's evidence, right?
Yeah.
There's like so much against him, his actions, like
Yeah.
him stepping away. It's just, bro,
Yeah.
it's like another one bites the dust.
It's definitely unfortunate.
Golly.
Definitely unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But
Golly.
that's enough about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let's move on to, I guess, our personal lives, right?
Yeah.
And what that looks like. I mean, obviously we're two different people. We've literally grown up in two separate cultures, very
Mm-hmm.
different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised here. You were born and raised kind of
Kind
in
of
Grenada.
here.
In
Yeah.
here and Grenada, no?
Because I've been here for 30
Both.
years this year.
No, I know, but like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so let's get into that. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up for you, because you were born in Grenada, right?
Born there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then tell me about that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then what was
What I.
life like that? What was life like over there
Mm-hmm.
for your period down there? And then even get into some church stuff. Like, did you attend church over there? And what was that? What was that like?
Okay, so see how we were talking earlier about Sammy having to make a choice because his daddy was a preacher, right?
Yeah.
That kind of made me think of my upbringing as well. Just off of, see, I did take something away from the
Yeah.
movie. But yeah, I was born in Grenada. My mom is from Grenada. My dad was born in St. Vincent, but he changed his nationality to be a Grenadian citizen. Like, I think way before we even were thought up to be in existence. So my dad thinks he's Grenadian too, but no, he's definitely from St. Vincent. I met them last year.
What do they call them? Because you have.
Vincentian. My family, my dad's side, are Vincentians
Yeah.
because they're from St. Vincent, and we are Grenadians
Okay.
because we're not Grenada, Spain.
Okay.
Is
Because when we went to St. Thomas, they said that they were St.
You
Thomians.
remember the first guy? He said we are Virgin
Vir-
Islanders.
Virgin Island, yeah, Virgin Islanders.
Yeah, and
Virgin
then
Islander.
people. I didn't know I had friends that were from St. Thomas, and they corrected and said no, St. Thomians. Okay, yeah. So we're Grenadians.
Okay.
Period. Um, 7 parishes. I hope I'm not messing that up. And parishes are like what we'll call counties and or boroughs. So you see how you have Essex County,
Yeah.
and there's like a borderline, or no, let's say Newark and Belleville and things like that.
Yeah.
Imagine, I think Grenada could sit inside of New Jersey. That's how small it is.
Wow.
Yeah, people don't know it. A lot of people. What pisses me off is like now they're like getting on, like a lot of tourists are getting to know them,
Yeah.
and like that would mean the prices for the tickets are gonna go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting annoyed. It's like a love hate situation because, bro, yeah, we need the money, but low key, like that's my home. I don't want nobody going up in there trampling it, like turning it into a Jamaica.
Yeah.
I think we're better. No offense, Jamaicans, but I just feel like we're still giving that exotic little nook or that little oasis in paradise type feel, you know?
Yeah.
Very local, very loving set of people. Um, Especially if you're yellow like you and you're from America, they
Yeah.
love you even more. Um, yes, I said it. But yeah, I was born there. What I can remember from there, I came up here in 1992 when my mom migrated here. She came up here. Obviously, a lot of our parents come up here to make a better life for us.
Yeah.
Your mom, she was born in Newark.
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
believe so.
different, right? Yeah. Ours, we
Wait. Yeah, I think she was. Yeah, yeah. I
She was
think they were born here.
here.
My both my parents, I believe. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, we all of us. Yes. So it started. My mom came first. She took me with her when she came. I can't remember when it was in 1992, but we came up here, and I can't remember how long I stayed here with her either. But long story short, she sent me back down
Mhm.
in 93 so she could settle.
Mhm.
It's like every time I hear her story, like it makes me sad because she fought. And I'm no offense to my dad because obviously he still went once he got settled here, he held it down and like he raised four girls, helped her raise four girls, but
Yeah.
she pioneered this move
Yeah.
for our family and her family in essence because we have family back home
Yeah.
that she still like we see how we're close knit here. Like a lot of people see my family and they're like, oh my God, they're so close knit here. It's crazy that we know our family back home.
Yeah.
Like those our cousins are like our cousins. Like we
Yeah.
grew up with them. Like we ran the streets, we ran barefooted in our yards together growing up, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, we went to church together, all these things. So coming up here, it was a culture shock.
Mhm.
So 1995 was when she decided. My dad came up, I think, in 1993 or 94. I can't remember when he came up to meet her. And then we came up. She brought all of us up. So TT, who passed last year,
Yeah.
is plays an integral role in our coming up here too. Like, even she became like family. Like, because her and my mom were best friends from since before.
Mhm.
Yeah. But she brought up Niana first. And then we came up with Auntie Tessa in the summer. But like the struggle was real in the beginning. But yeah, 30 years later for me anyway, and Niana and Nikon. We're here, we're thriving. We got a baby sister who's born here, who
Mhm.
swears she's from Grenada,
Yeah.
who could possibly get deported because my mommy wasn't a citizen when you were born, Nathalie. Um, but it's just crazy. Like us growing up here and in church.
Okay.
So let's talk about that, right? Because I had to get to this. How we ended up in the church we ended up in when we got to this country. It's close proximity. Grenada can sit inside of Brooklyn, New York. So imagine everybody know everybody. So your mom comes up to America, and obviously there's many pastors you could choose from, but she knew of this pastor because of our pastor back home.
Mhm.
So yeah, so proximity, and we grew up in church.
Got it.
We went to that one church in particular. Um, how was church life growing up? You asked too.
Mhm.
Um, I say I had my first fight in church, physical fight in church because we were there so much that like people. I think people thought that my mom was the pastor's wife, and I will have to say, if anyone were to come into that church at that time and they thought that, oh well, fair.
Mhm.
It's fair. It would have been fair to say so. Not because my mommy was cuddled up with the pastor, but how how she led and how many, like how she paved and she pioneered a lot
Mhm.
in that ministry
Mhm.
to the point where she was focused on building or helping that ministry and not seeing how it was hurting her kids because like she doesn't. Yeah, it's in 2020 on her birthday. That was the last day we went to that church, and it's because it was just a lot.
Mhm.
It hit her in the face like boom. Like no one for her years of service, it was just a bad thing. Like just toxic.
Yeah.
And I think I posted about it today. Just knowing that, you know, I'm glad that we one, we were raised in church, right? We knew that Sundays were for church. I'm sad that we were in such a toxic environment. And I think we touched on it last week on the pod where I talked about how no, we did not touch on this. I was talking to my mom actually.
Mhm.
How it's up until I met you
Mhm.
that I learned that there are pastors or pastors have notes and pastors like there's a structure
Mhm.
when it comes to preaching. Because I grew up with sister so and so would tell pastor a rumor and or gossip about somebody, and then Sunday the word was about sister the person
The
that
T.
the tea, but wrapped in Bible context. And but you're sitting in the church, and if you know who you are, and if you know you are sister so and so, and you know you slept with Jacob down the block, and you
Mm.
didn't give him his money, and or whatever,
Yeah.
that was that conversation was about you. So so many experiences. Like I would say the first time like I dealt with like exposure to like SEX is it was in church. And that the person who was my first encounter, the amount of girls, and I'm not saying like we did the do, you know, but it's just all these, you know, your daddy's on stage, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, your daddy's on stage preaching, and you're in the closet with all the girls in the church. I'm not saying he was gay, but I'm just saying he's there deflowering all the girls in the church, and he's there bashing people about these things, and I'm just like, it's just a whole. It was toxic
Mhm.
growing up in that environment to the point like I think it was last year when TT died. It was the first time I aired it out, like got it off my chest. And I didn't realize how tightly wound my chest was about how unfairly we were treated
Mhm.
as members. We were there. If I'm saying it's been 30 years I've been in this country, and we left that church in 2020, 25 years.
Mm.
Imagine Natalie
Yeah.
was born in there. And it's just really bad, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just praying that there are churches who really pay attention to how they deal with their people,
Mhm.
especially their people who serve, as like parents who are serving
Mhm.
and have children.
Yeah.
How they treat the parents, you know? The children are watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The children are seeing these things. Back then, we were, see, when I said I got rebuked, like you call out something and they rebuke you as opposed to correcting their actions because, but you're fighting and you're saying this is not right,
Mhm.
but then you're thinking you're disrespectful by saying it's not right,
Yeah.
you know? So it it took a mental toll on me, like through the years. I left it. I left it. I can't remember what year I left it.
Mhm.
And when I left it, I went, and this was under the Assemblies of God, like umbrella. So this is not like one of them old Kojic where there are different bylaws, and
Yeah.
their bylaws are way different than Assemblies of God. Assemblies of God leans more on the Pentecostal side,
Yeah.
which is like okay, but there was so much wrongdoing up in there,
Yeah.
and if there were bylaws, they were not being followed.
Mhm.
So it's ridiculous. Like so, like I said, up until this year, last year when TT passed, and the way the way they handled her, like it was, I was just over it. And now I'm an adult, and I can speak about it because, like, can you imagine you gotta go to therapy because of church?
Yeah.
That's wild. And yeah, they didn't have like the oh you gotta wear a skirt to your knees law, but it's just growing up just feeling convicted all the time. Like, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. You're wrong, 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 wrong. I didn't know nothing about grace until I met you.
Yeah.
because even when I left, I went to another church, like I said, but like, and they were very graceful, but I still didn't understand it because at this point, it's like me trying to fit into this community, and I don't know these people. It was far to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it, like I tried my best, and they were great.
Mm-hmm.
Like up to this day, like I still have friends from that church, but it's just coming from what we came from was
Yeah.
really bad, and the Stockholm syndrome was real because guess what? I went back.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought it would have changed? No, got worse.
Yeah.
Got worse. And then so when I went to Cali, I went to Texas, moved to Texas, came back in 2018 and started going back there cuz it's home church. And yeah, no. Worse. And the worst part about it is like I hate when people like to try to put this thing on you. Oh, you want to be on the mic so badly. No, boo. If you feel that is what probably is my calling and you're feeling it and you're probably you're not it don't sit with you because you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what like I didn't there's never a time when I forced the mic into my head. Even this doing this right now, I'm not the most comfortable doing this. I worship with you on Sundays. I'm not the most comfortable with a mic in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm there and I believe that it's part of who God made me to be. It is part of my story. So I'm there. But I've never been the one to be like, I want to do this, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the spirit has led me to hold a mic in my hand and I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine like these were the things like and then like I said, people would think we were the pastor's kids. So the way I was treated in that church, you would think I would have gone the route Sammy went and just never looked back.
Yeah.
But it just takes like that personal relationship with God to keep you grounded and just keep your eyes focused like on the prize. The prize is getting to heaven, being who God's called you to be, and just focusing on that and disregarding the noise.
Mm-hmm.
When I met you, I met you, you're going to this church that is totally graced out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I'm shedding all these things off me up till today. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been together for what, 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
So that growing up in that type of environment, I'm just glad, like I said, I like posted it today. I'm just really glad that me and my sisters are now in a position where we can make those decisions to raise our families
Mm-hmm.
and just completely transform our lives in Christ by finding communities
Mm-hmm.
that believe in God, believe in His grace,
Mm-hmm.
and they love us
Yeah.
graciously.
Yeah.
Imagine going to a church all your life and your pastor does not know how to say your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know how damaging that is to somebody? It is weird. My name is Nicole. I was called Nicole for 25 years. And if I try to correct it, I probably would have been told that I was rude.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, Natalie, she never played. They called her Natalie for how long? What? 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they would announce her to go up on stage, and we used to like laugh about it, she would say, "Yeah, it's Natalie." Every time. And it's crazy. Like, we would laugh about it because we know she would have to go up and correct it.
Yeah.
But it just shows how when there are pastors who are just warped up in themselves and not about the community, not about what I'm learning
Yeah.
that the church is supposed to be about. It's crazy when your eyes are open to it.
Yeah.
So now we're in this space and yeah, I'm peeling it off. I am
Yeah.
peeling it off daily. I appreciate you for being patient with me.
Mm.
So yeah, I didn't expect to go on so long. But yeah, thanks. Whew, I spoke.
No, it was good.
How
It was
was
good.
your compare your church like upbringing to mine?
Um. So I I guess you can say this microphone's driving me crazy. Sorry. Um, I guess you can say I don't know if you can say I was raised in church. Maybe yeah, because
Mm.
I've been going to church since I was like very young,
Mm.
very young. Um, Me and my mom and my two other brothers, um, one in which passed, God rest his soul, but um, my mom wasn't. My mom was very, very, very intentional about getting us into church, getting us into, you know, making sure that we were constantly there, right? There was no like headway or leeway when it came down to going to church. Like
Mm-hmm.
if she was going, we were there. We had no option.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was There was no options. So for us, I guess you could say a lot of our upbringing we learned from how committed my mom was.
Yeah.
So I can literally commend her for that because she was she was very influential with how church looks today for me, like where it's more so for me, I just feel like it's more of a non-negotiable where for me there's like never unless we're like busy somewhere, unless we're on vacation or we're doing something, there's never a period in which I can say that I've taken out off from church, right?
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about
Our
unless we're talking
honeymoon
about
was
like
the one
no
time.
no like even my period in which I was in my rebel stage and everything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But yeah, she was a very influential she played a very influential part in my role as far as or my life in church. But I guess our culture in church, I guess back in the day, you can call it legalistic because I wasn't raised in a Spanish Pentecostal church.
Okay.
So Spanish Pentecostal is, I mean, you want to talk about legalistic, that's as legalistic as you can get. Like we're talking skirts, you're talking women
Mm-hmm.
can't shave, all that stuff. This was back in the day. Women can't wear makeup. It's just like everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can't wear pants, all that stuff. So I was never raised up in that type of environment. Although I played like close proximity because as I got older, I started getting to music and everything. So I would get called to minister here and there. So I kind of saw that culture,
Yeah.
but I never had to, I guess, be around it so much so where it affected me. But you could say the culture that I grew up in was more so, I guess you could say legalistic because there was very there was very much maybe not legalistic. I'm sorry. It was more so performance based.
Mm.
So it was like, all right, so you
Mm.
behave and you get good.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, so
yeah.
you do this and you earn your way to heaven type deal. Although that wasn't like explicitly preached in that
Yeah.
way, a lot of the messages just came off with that like I guess infused in them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So back then you know you can only imagine that in my mind I'm thinking, oh, the minute I mess up I got a straight shot to hell.
Yeah.
Like the minute I curse, the minute I catch an attitude with somebody, the minute I go ahead and sin, I'm going straight to hell. And that was the mentality. It was just like, oh man, and even it was even preached like you would hear in the salvation calls where it's just like, if you die today, are you gonna make it to heaven? Or are you gonna be in hell? You know, so
Betting
it's like one of those
it.
like, whoa, bro. Um, so yeah, so I went from that. Eventually, I I was introduced to grace, and grace has truly revolutionized my
Yeah.
life. although I can say that while learning about grace or while coming to grace, that's when I went into my rebel stage.
Huh.
Well, years later.
Uh-huh.
But I could say today that had it not been for my roots that were grounded in
Yeah.
who I am, my identity, God's love for me, and what He thinks of me and what He truly says about me, had it not been for that, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I was taught back then was, well, everything that I do
Yeah.
will affect my relationship with God.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful today that my roots or my foundation was solid.
Mm-hmm.
Although I went wayward, right? So for those who don't know, I've been worship leading for a very long time. I don't even remember how old I was. I mean, I could, if I was to make a guess, I guess maybe 13, 12, 13, 14,
Mm-hmm.
roughly around that age when I started worship leading in church and got introduced to grace and everything like that. At that time, I was married at that time. My dog playing with his toy. So at that time I was married, and yeah, the marriage went south, right?
Shouldn't have been.
We shouldn't have been married, right? And it's not a knock at anyone. I'm not knocking her or whatever the case is. It was just we got into something that was more so based on lust at that time. It was based on just more so like a sexual thing, which led to me having my son at a young age. So we shouldn't have been married, right? But we tried to force our way into each other's lives, and we tried to keep it going for as long as possible. Ended up blowing up in our face. It became extremely toxic. After that, I continued worship leading. I obviously took breaks in in between while I was going through that time, but then I continued worship leading. But then I went into my rebel stage where now this was probably the first time that I started leading worship, and I was a single young guy. And at that time we were getting asked to worship lead at different churches, different platforms, different stages, churches of all sizes, right, around the
Mm-hmm.
tri-state area. So we were going to Virginia at one point. We went to New York. It was a lot of stuff going on. So you
Rock
can imagine
star
what that
life.
does to a young 20-something-year-old's mind, right? You think
Sure.
you've arrived. You think that you are the cream of the crop. So yeah, in many ways at that time I felt like I was living the rock star life, although I wasn't a celebrity or anything.
With all the
But
leather jackets and
it felt like that, all the leather I used to wear.
and Chelsea boots
And
to
Chelsea,
match.
yeah, look, I'm shouts to the Chelsea boots. But yeah, I went into that season, and I just, if I can phrase everything, I mishandled what God gave me.
Oh.
So for me, like, God, I see like God giving me like a gift, right? And He's
Yeah.
stretching His arms, giving me a gift, and He's like, all right, almost like on the package, He writes, handle with care.
Yeah.
And I didn't handle that with care. So what I did was I took the gift, I used the gift, but while I was using the gift, I was mishandling it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least mishandling the platform that I was given,
Yeah.
right? So that I got into a lot of sexual stuff with different women and seeing different people at the same time, and doing different things, all while worship leading, just doing whatever I wanted to do during the week. And then on Sunday, just fake it till you make it. Hey, everyone stand up, lift your hands. God is good and everything. And yes, God is good.
So during your rebel stage, you still were going to church?
So I'll get to that. So
Okay.
so well, that was my rebel. That was the beginning of what my rebel stage looked like, right? Well, I just where I just wanted to I wanted to I wanted my cake and I wanted to eat it too.
Oh.
Right. So I was leading worship. I had this platform. Um, I was also board member at church. I was a leader in different aspects of the church and, just living my life Monday through Friday.
Like it's golden.
Like it's nobody's business, right? So doing what I wanted. And, eventually I fell to my face, right? Because that's not sustainable
Yeah.
at all. That type of lifestyle, whether whether you're a leader, whether you're I don't know, any person with a platform, that lifestyle is not sustainable at all.
Mm.
At all. You can forget about it. Yes, in the beginning, you it pokes interest. You start saying, "Oh man, I can get away with this. I can get away with
Mm-hmm.
that," and everything like that. And then the pleasure behind it, it all feels great and dandy. But on the inside, what's happening, right? So I was at war with
Turmoil.
myself
Mm-hmm.
on the inside because I I was just like, I came off of this divorce. At that time, also, I was never taught to really process emotion. I was never taught to
Mm.
mind my thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I was never taught to really deal with inner trauma, inner wounds.
Uh.
So anything that happened to me within that period, it would happen and I would keep moving as if it never
Mm.
happened. Right? So you can imagine that in my closet, I just kept stuffing
And
stuff,
things.
stuffing and stuffing because it was just trauma and things that I was doing or even self-inflicted, right? A lot
Mm.
of this stuff that I experienced was self-inflicted, but instead of going back and really getting to the root of the issue, I would just stuff it in the closet, continue stuffing. And it led me to a really dark area in my life. Where I ended up leaving the church that I was at. Not asked to. I was still leading there, but I wasn't asked to leave. But I
You
was
needed to.
so I was so burnt out. And at that time, there was so much trauma in my life, and there was so much, I guess, that I had built up inside of me that I had offense. I was offended by everyone, and anyone and everyone. It just seemed like I had it, like the world had it out for me.
And this is
That's how
church
I felt.
folk
Just
more
all church
mainly.
folk, people who loved me dearly, but it was just, and mind you, there was obviously, there are some exceptions, right? So if
Yeah.
someone does something to you, fine, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
in that case, yes, that was
Mm-hmm.
hurtful to me. But for the most part, there was a lot of stuff that I could have either let roll off my shoulder, or there was
Self
a lot of other
inflicted.
stuff that I just misread in general,
Got it.
where it was like, oh, this person thought this of me or said this of me, and they never did. It was just in my mind.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
being that I was never taught to go back and deal with old trauma or deal with old things. Now, whoever hurt me in the past, I was looking at I was looking at everyone else as if they were the people that hurt me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, I ended up leaving. Um, I ended up having this huge breakup with me and my partner at that time. And, I moved about an hour and a half away from here. So, what that meant was whenever I had to come pick up my son, I had to drive an hour and 30 something minutes to come pick up my son, and
Yeah.
then drive an hour and 30 something minutes to come back and drop him off. So I would have him on the weekend, pick him up for the weekend, and then come and bring him right back. But then had no family,
Mm.
no friends,
Mm-mm.
no nothing. It was me and my dogs. Um, and it was a very dark season for me in which, a lot of thoughts of either suicide, a lot of self-esteem issues, I, all that you can anything you can imagine is what I thought of
Yeah.
at that time. And I was over there for about maybe a year. No, maybe 2 years. I think maybe two and a half. And eventually, I moved back. And when I moved back, that's when I started the whole inner healing journey, right? Where I
Unpacking.
started unpacking, started learning how to be accountable. See, that was another thing. I was not accountable to anyone back in those days. And it wasn't that people weren't trying to hold me accountable. It was that I would set up a wall or I would just lie. Oh yeah,
Mm.
I'm good. Oh yeah, no, I wasn't doing anything this week. Oh yeah, I was, you know what I'm saying? Like I would just I wasn't real with anybody. So there was a lot of guards, there was a lot of masks being worn. So, I came back, I started my healing journey and started learning what accountability looks like. Started also learning what boundaries look like, where I need to
Yeah.
me being how I was, I needed to
Why?
set up certain boundaries
Mm-hmm.
for me not to fail in that area again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that led me up into where I am today, where You know, I think I am in a journey, and I always say it. Pretty much can coin this phrase at this point. I am healed and healing,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm processing and I've processed,
Yeah.
and just literally walking down this path, walking down this journey, and learning as we go. Right? I'm still learning about myself. I'm still learning about different things about me. I'm still working on a lot of areas, and there's still things that I need to work on, man. And that's what I really want to, I guess, drive home. As I'm not sure who's watching this today, and I'm not sure where you find yourself,
Yeah.
but know that one, you're not alone, right? And two, you see people like us, right? We
Yeah.
have this podcast. And again, this podcast started just as a basic conversation. We decided to air our normal, everyday conversations
That we have in the car, we
that we
have
have in the
in
car. We
bed.
decided just to air it
Yeah.
out on the internet, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what we
We
did.
talk.
We
Yeah.
decided to do. And
No cap.
yeah. And the point of that is to show that even people who serve in church, even people who lead in church, even people
Grew
who
up in
go and
church.
who've walked different aspects of life, who grew up in
Mm-hmm.
church, we're all on a journey together. We're all processing. We're all still learning.
Yeah.
So I as you're watching this, I don't ever want anyone watching this to ever think that,
We've
oh, these
arrived.
two
Yeah.
have all the answers. Listen,
We
I
don't.
don't. I'm just still learning.
I'm
And
still peeling
yeah,
off
we are
my
two
past.
we are two broken people still learning. Check
Yeah.
this out. Um on the way we were today on our way to drop off our nieces and nephew. There's this sign that Verizon has up, and I think it's a new advertisement that they got up
Uh-huh.
that says "Broken is beautiful,"
I didn't see it.
and that
Did you
literally
cry?
almost made me cry.
Did you cry?
I
Cause he
was
cries about stuff like that.
I literally read that thing because in the imagery in
Wow.
the in on the it was a big billboard, and it literally said "Broken is beautiful," and then it showed a phone that was cracked.
Mm,
And I was like,
that's
man, I'm that
deep.
phone. I'm that phone because
That's true.
what I started thinking of is like, when you take your phone, you have a shattered glass, you either take it to Apple, you take it to some shop, and they literally just take the screen out and replace it. And
Mm.
I just started thinking of how many times God had to replace my screen,
Oh,
right? So like, hmm,
he's gonna cry.
um
Hold my hand.
I had to, I literally have had to humble myself
Mhm.
so many times
Mhm.
because I remember being in a place where I thought that I arrived and I thought that I was the man and I thought I was untouchable, but I was really broken.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that of all the times where God literally took my screen
Yeah.
and literally replaced it in all aspects of life. It was like in different seasons. I can literally go down a list of different moments where God literally said, "Here, you need a new screen. Here, I need to replace this. Here, I need to replace that." And that was very impactful to me watching that today. I was like, I saw that billboard and I was like, "Oh my lord, that is like that is God sent. Verizon, I can hear you now. I literally can hear you now." Like, cause that was something else. But yeah, back to what I was originally saying. Listen,
Hold my hand.
broken. We're all broken people. And just like that advertisement says, broken is beautiful. And I think in many ways that's where God wants us to be. In many ways, I believe that God wants us to be in a place where we are broken just enough for us to realize that we can't do life without him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm
Not
there.
that he wants us to be
I get it.
condemning or feel lower than or
Mhm.
lesser than, right?
For sure.
But there is a level of, hey, I can't do life without you.
Yeah.
That we should all be that it should remain fresh in our minds,
Mhm.
right? So I love that. I love that advertisement. But listen, if you're watching this, if you're watching this and you're in a place where you feel like you're at your wits end, or you felt like, maybe you felt like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I don't know, or maybe you've had thoughts of possibly doing harm to yourself. Um, I just wanna say to you today that, listen, we've all been there. We're all there.
Yeah.
There's been moments recently, maybe not where I wanted to do harm to myself, but I just felt like I didn't add up
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
recently.
Wow.
And listen, if you're watching this, know that you're not alone. One, know that God is with you wherever you are, and He wants to meet with you. He wants to meet with you. He wants to go through life with you. Would you allow Him to? Would you allow Him to? And I think that's the mentality, and that's the mentality that we should strive to have and keep fresh in our minds. Where it's just like, you know what? Yes, I may be experiencing this, but I also know that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Whether that's with my community or whether that's with God,
Yeah.
right? Because both are true,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So yeah, man, I pray to God that that was impactful to you. Because let me tell you, that billboard was something else to me.
Wow. I'm mad you didn't tell me.
I mean, yeah, I mean you're
Was I
you're dead
sleeping?
asleep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But last question before we close
Yeah.
this episode out. So we've been talking lots about like mental health and what that looks like.
Yeah.
Uh, so where's your mental space today in comparison to where it was when you were younger,
Mm.
going through all the trauma,
The
going
trauma.
through everything that you've gone through in life? where's your mental space today?
Today, I am, like I said, I'm still peeling off the mess.
Yeah.
You know, like, granted, I just realized that I didn't even say, don't get it twisted. I'm not like, I wasn't Miss Perfect, but I wasn't as bad as people try to paint. You know, I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary as a teenager or a young girl trying to fit in would do, you know? We weren't out there being reckless. Um so just taking that stigma off and just learning that it is okay to one speak up
Mm-hmm.
regardless
Mm-hmm.
of who is like berating you or who is talking about you. Own
Yeah.
own your mess. Own where you mess up at, you know, or where you messed up at. Um and fixing it too. Like apologizing, so on and so forth. Um mentally, I'm in this season. I married you. We got
Mm-hmm.
married. I moved to a whole other state and I'm the farthest away from my family that I've been in a very long time. So trying to form friendships here and not make them wear that hat that I'm so used to with the betrayal and the backbiting and the bickering that came with it.
Yeah.
Mentally, that's where I am at.
Yeah.
Like the minute I see like any type of negativity, I tend to just shut down.
Yeah.
And I think that is a trauma response
Mm-hmm.
because one, I don't want to go back and forth with you. I don't want to, it's just, I want to be in a space of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all humans and, we're going to have our days, you know, but I just don't want to be in a space where, um, I think that's what I'm working through now. Like learning to trust that the community that we are in
Yeah.
is is safe.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a community where we hugged and like, how you guys they checked in on you regardless of the matter. You said you had offenses with
Mm-hmm.
people who loved on you.
Mm-hmm.
That was what we lacked, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah. So learning that people in church do love people.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to trust the people that I'm in church with now, the
Yeah.
people who I'm doing life with now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't no Miss Perfect, but I wasn't. I w- what we went through, we didn't deserve it, and it's so hard to say it, and we would still try to say, "Oh, I wasn't Miss Perfect," but the things we compare, if we had to compare it, we really, yeah, we're
Yeah.
just kids being kids, bro. Like it was never that deep.
Yeah.
Did I have my thought season? Yeah, but it was never see how you were going to church. No. When I had my season, I didn't care. And that was one of them seasons where I was like, I was in my Sammy season. Like, I chose out there because they loved me more than I felt the love inside.
Mm-hmm.
But God brought me back. And I'm just really glad that I think I came back like 2018, that season that I had in that old environment, it didn't break me. It didn't break that connection. What it did though, it just caused me to realize like in that season, probably it's not church.
Yeah.
And then God knows why that happened too. 2020 was the pandemic.
Yeah.
Churches shut down.
Yeah.
So by the time we came back, it was like a reset for our family regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm still in reset mode.
Mm.
And I'm I'm happy here. I'm feeling better
Yeah.
about it now. Yeah, I'm in the best place with the Lord than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And that's that.
That's good. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for me, I feel way more mature, and that's not to pat myself on the back,
But you can.
but it is to say that I do feel way more mature with my thought pattern than I've ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not to say that I don't have negative thoughts and they don't arise and they don't, they don't come crawling or attempting to crawl back in. But I think one thing that's helped me is with negative thinking, right? So usually negative thinking consists of you looking at one situation, whatever that may be, and looking at it and just looking at it from that negative
Yeah.
perspective. So I find myself now asking myself, well, what else can I say about this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Finding another way to either frame it or interpret it,
Yeah.
right? So, for example, whatever it may be, let's say you're stressed out about a kid, or you're stressed out because
Mm-hmm.
finances aren't all together, and you thought that, hey, this year was going to be my year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's not your year per se right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But another way to look at it, me you could look at it and say, well, it's not my year now,
Yeah.
or it's not my time
No.
now. Doesn't mean it'll never be your time.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you'll never have one of those
Mm-hmm.
breakthrough miraculous seasons.
Mm.
So we can always look ahead and look with hope and faith and trust that and believe that God is going to provide.
Yeah.
Also, believing that we are walking in his will,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're walking and moving according to what he has designed for us.
For sure.
So that should always be our prayer. But yeah, I find myself asking these questions today more than ever,
Yeah.
just to kind of keep me sane and keep me, level headed. Where, yeah, there are moments where I don't feel 100%, and there's moments that my mind kind of goes down a little bit of a path, but I always try to find home
Yeah.
again. Come back home. All right. What does home look like? Well, home looks like I can sit back, relax for a bit, breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, what else might be true about this situation?
Yeah.
And then I can, I guess, in many ways, maneuver from there,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can, in many ways, just make my decisions of how I'm going to proceed from that mental space, as opposed to, this is never happening, or I'm never going to be this. No, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
that now. Doesn't mean I won't be.
Yeah. When the time is right.
So, with that said, listen, if that's you, and maybe you feel like, man, I've missed my time, or maybe you're in one of those seasons where you feel like you're never going to have your time because you've been praying for this thing for so long
Mm-hmm.
and it just hasn't happened. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Know that maybe it's not your time now, but that does not mean that it will never be your time. So, with that said, want to thank y'all for listening to our little talk, our podcast. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm actually thinking about getting that Pillowcaast logo up here somehow, but we'll do that later.
That's what our wedding wall.
Anyway, but I mean, we can replace
We
this
could work it
feel
out.
good one. But
Okay.
whatever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. and like, share, DM, whatever you want to do. Go ahead and give us your support, man. We'd greatly appreciate it. Anyway, we love y'all. See y'all.
Peace out.